Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm working on my Onan Marquis Gold 5500 with an intermittent shutdown. This has been going on for 6 months or so. No rhyme or reason, it would just shut down. Sometimes it would set a code 47, indicating an ignition issue. Sometimes there wouldn't be codes at all. Now we're in the summer, we're dealing with 95 degrees, and it's a lot more frequent. Now I thought I had to dive into it because it's affecting our AC usage. Being that we're off grid, I don't always have enough solar to run AC, so we got to use a generator. So before I actually dove in and started diagnosing this problem, I actually converted this to propane instead of running off of gas. We just have a big propane tank, and being that we live in this full time, it's much easier just to run off propane. So that also helped eliminate all the fuel issues that these have. Fuel pumps, fuel filters, that sort of thing. Some people say that can affect the ignition, setting codes for that too. So it was just easier and convenient that I moved it over to propane. So I dove in and put an inline spark tester to monitor what is going on, seeing if it's a coil or a computer issue. So I sat here, let it run for 45 minutes, it shut down, and when I try to restart it, there's no spark out of either coil. Waited about 10-15 minutes, and then it would start back up, but then die after about 5 minutes. So I knew I was dealing with a heat issue. Not wanting to pull this thing back out and put ignition coils back in it, or new ones, I should say. I thought I'd try something else, and I haven't seen anyone try this, but maybe someone did. I've read all the forums, seen what people are saying, and one of the possibilities is the computer is overheating. So instead of just throwing a $600 computer at it, or whatever they are these days, they're rather expensive, I thought I'd try something. So I'm going to turn you around here and show you what I did. This is what I've got. Your switch panel and computer. Normally they sit back in here under a nice cover and everything like that. And I figured if that computer is overheating, maybe I need to get it out of this box where all the heat is circulating. So my cover was already kind of busted. Normally there's just a little cutout where your harness comes through, and my cover was still loose. So I was able to lift it up, feed the computer to the outside, and the switch panel on the outside. I mean, switch panel doesn't need to be out on the outside, but it was just easier. So I ran everything through. Yes, it's super ghetto, but I was doing this for testing purposes. So what I'll do then is I put the cover back on like normal, and I ran it. And to my surprise, it stopped shutting down. 95 degrees out, it ran for 8 hours straight. Full load, 2 ACs on it, not even a hiccup. So that pretty much told me this computer is overheating. Yeah, it's a little crusty and I could probably clean that up, but it works. And it's been going like this for several weeks now. This isn't just a fluke. I made sure I did plenty of testing, and actually this is how I run it now until I decide how I want to proceed. I could get a new computer, $600, $650, whatever it is now. But that's a chunk of change for this thing still running just fine, just with this moved. So still haven't decided what I'm going to do, but for the meantime, it's staying like this. If I decide to keep it like this, I thought about extending this entire wiring harness and moving this computer to maybe the other side of this wall that houses my propane tanks, and mount it properly and clean and all that, just so I can save several $100s because it runs just fine. That's my thought right now. I suppose I'll update when I decide what I'm actually going to do, but for the meantime, this is it. So that's it. That's how I diagnosed my intermittent code 47 and an intermittent shutdown with no codes at all. Hopefully this helps you, and maybe even save you some money. I know it doesn't look nice, and maybe if you're traveling around, this probably isn't ideal. right now we're stationary on our property, so I'm not worried about vibrations going down the road, messing up the computer or anything like that. But here it is, back with the cover on. And yeah, it's not pretty. It just sits there. And then I leave this big cover open to help circulate air for this, but yet I have my cover for my generator sealed like Cummins wants you to do, so that it circulates air properly and cools everything. But it works. I hope this helps you guys, help someone out of a jam, because these repairs are not cheap, especially if you have to take it somewhere and they have to, you know, either replace the ignition coils, which are, you have to take this whole thing out and apart, or put a new computer on. Those aren't cheap either. So I hope this helps someone, save some money, and keep going.